For the placement of the chicken coop, we had many factors to consider. The first was, do we put the coop inside the pasture and rotate the chickens with the goats? But we decided we wanted to keep them outside of the pasture to minimize parasite load. We also needed a coop promptly because the old one was really difficult to clean and difficult to collect eggs from. We liked the general vicinity where the old chicken coop was, and we chose this spot where there was an old fire pit because of the ash. Ash is not only a great soil amendment for the garden, but it also helps minimize the presence of mites, fleas, and other soft-bodied insects that could bother chickens. This was also the most level space where we could build a new large coop. Our very first coop was DIY, and it worked out fine, but it wasn't necessarily efficient in collecting eggs. Our second coop was a very cheap prefabricated coop from a local farm supply store, and that one lasted about 2 years. So our last coop at the urban homestead was a prefabricated coop by Roost and Root, and we wanted to go ahead and get a coop by them again, this time but a much larger one. I love a good quality prefabricated coop because of all the features that it has. I like that this one is a walk-in coop, so it's really easy to clean. It also has conveniently located nesting boxes that I can access either inside or outside of the coop. Other features are helpful, like the cold frames that can go up to prevent draft during a cold season, or they can go down to help increase airflow during a hot summer. This coop took us less than 12 hours to build, and we are going to stain it eventually to increase the longevity. To move your flock into the new coop, I highly recommend doing it at nighttime and encouraging them inside the coop with mealworms. For the guineas, we needed a more strategic setup, actually enclosing a section of the coop for them to get used to their new coop, so that way once we let them out, they wouldn't leave the coop and fly off. We also needed a separate area for the younger chicks to integrate with the older chickens. This is extremely important for a number of reasons. One, you want to acclimate the younger chickens to their new habitat without too much stress. Chickens also have a natural pecking order amongst the flock. And with the younger chickens, you don't want the older chickens to boss the younger ones around and create any drama. The younger rooster, Gouda, had immediately tried to show off his role in the pecking order with the other roosters. We started integrating the guineas a week later by just letting a couple out at a time and also introducing a lot of mealworm treats. This is going to distract them and get them comfortable around each other. The guineas are definitely hanging out with the chickens. I think that they know that it's safe with the chickens. They've also been hanging back out in the coop. The little babies are hanging out in the coop as they get comfortable with their surroundings. I would say we have successfully integrated this flock. Everyone is hanging out and the guineas are coming back to the coop at night. In my experience, chicken maintenance has always been very easy because of the deep litter method. If you didn't use the deep litter method, you would have to clean the coop more often, and it would smell more often because the manure wouldn't naturally fall to the ground and decompose and break down, and the chickens wouldn't be turning it over. But in the deep litter method, it all just gets recycled into the ground, and when it does start to stink, your job is to go in, mix it up, and add more shavings. And then on an as-needed basis, you would remove all of those shavings, put them into your compost pile, and then start anew. So today is the first day that I am applying pine shavings. Per the coop manufacturer's recommendations, I did not dig out 6 inches in this coop, I just left the plain dirt floor. One, it was on top of an old fireplace, so I wanted to utilize those ashes for mites and small insect populations. Ash is a great remedy for that. Now I have chickens and I also have guineas, and the guineas poop way more than the chickens, and for some reason it just smells way worse. So I've probably had this coop up now for maybe 2 months. I have about 15 birds, including the guineas, and it is time to maintain my coop, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. All you need is 3 materials: diatomaceous earth, food grade. If it's OMRI listed, that's usually the label that I go for. Pine shavings, and then either a garden trowel. I'm using my daughter's garden hoe to scrape poop off of the nesting boxes. This is hands down the least glamorous part of having a chicken coop, but everybody poops. So I just take my hoe, you could also use a garden trowel, and I'm just scraping the poop off and letting it fall directly to the ground. Depending on how many birds you have, it may be a good idea to actually scrub this down annually or as needed. Next, I'm applying food-grade diatomaceous earth to the roosting bars and the stairs. It is best that you wear a mask to avoid inhaling the diatomaceous earth, which can be harmful to your respiratory system. It also can be ideal to wear gloves so it doesn't dry out your hands, but this is a completely safe product. Humans can also use it as a detox. This diatomaceous earth is going to repel any insects, parasites, any other bugs that I should be concerned about harming my chickens. It's also going to help break down the manure on the bars. Now that all the poop has been scraped to the bottom, I'm going to use my garden hoe to mix it all in and help the chickens do their job of composting this manure at the base of the coop. Last but not least are the pine shavings. Now, what would you do if you did not have access to pine shavings? Any sort of mulch or leaves would do just fine. This is going to help keep the coop fresh and add brown matter as it all composts and turns over time. With 15 or more birds, I may have to do this every few months. And that's it, folks. I tried to do some more shavings over there because that's really where they poop the most, because that's where they lay at night. But now I've got a fresh bed of litter here. So all in all, this is very minimal maintenance, especially if you are in an urban setting. Just having 2 or 3 birds, you're gonna barely have to clean your coop, maybe once a year. I've got 15 and the guineas are just dirtier than any bird I've ever had. And it's nothing in comparison to the incredible eggs that you get and the independence of having meat if you needed meat. We are planning on getting meat birds eventually, and there are certain varieties of chickens that are best for eggs, meat, fun, like this little fuzzy Cochin. And so the maintenance is low with the deep litter method. We are cleaning the chicken coop today. This is the first time that we're doing a deep clean after almost a solid year, and we have over 20 birds. The deep litter method makes it easy to maintain a clean coop because as their droppings are falling from the roosting bars, they're inside the coop at night, and in the morning they're scraping through all of that, creating this incredible compost. This is a year's worth of poop that has just been mixed in and topped off with occasional pine chips and straw, and we've scraped off the poop from inside the boards as well. How do you know it's time to clean the coop? Simple answer, it's gonna get stinky. And it should only get stinky 1 to 2 times a year if you're using the deep litter method properly. If it gets stinkier than that, then you either have too many birds or there's some sort of issue with your setup and management. The first thing we're going to do is take out all of the roosting bars and ladders so that way we can really scrub those down and have access to underneath. Next, with a paint scraper, I just am scraping off all of the stuck-on poop. Once that's done, I'm taking an electric sander to really get off all of the poop that's on there and all of the stains. As I do this, my husband is raking out all of the litter. It is almost 1 foot tall as we've added bark chips and straw over the year to mix in with the manure, and this is going to make excellent compost. Back to my roosting bars, I'm scrubbing them all down with soap. And then after they're all scrubbed and washed off, I'm setting them out in the sun, the ultimate cleaner for them to dry. All of the litter has been scraped out from the chicken coop and being moved into our compost piles. It's perfect timing for our compost piles because we had already flipped them, with the larger debris being at the bottom, and we're putting compost and chicken manure on the top. Next, we are adding fresh mulch to the bottom of the chicken coop. This is all black walnut mulch, but you can use any type of hardwood mulch that is not dyed. We just happen to have a big pile left over from cutting down some trees. Check out how clean the roosting section is. We don't need to add any diatomaceous earth. We'll save that for later throughout the year. We're going to add some fresh herbs to the nesting boxes and run. Any fragrant herbs will work well to keep bugs away and to keep the chickens happy in scratching around and pecking at some of the fresh greens. This job took 2 of us about 4 hours from start to finish. For having 25 plus birds, this really makes the whole experience of having chickens feel well worth it and low maintenance. It's also one of those homestead tasks that just make you feel like you're doing such a good job tending to your animals and giving them a clean, healthy habitat to thrive in.